Welcome to ABA Basics for Parents. The following presentation will cover information on safety skills and community outings. This presentation is a part of the series developed by the team at Pacific Northwest Autism to help provide parents and caregivers with information and a greater understanding of ABA and related topics. All presentations, in part or in whole, are the property of Pacific Northwest Autism. The following slide includes general safety skill information that may be important to focus on with your children with autism. Implementing safety skills should be done with children of all ages, neurotypical or with autism. Children with autism often lack discrimination skills needed for safety awareness. Some areas of deficit may include knowing when to cross the street or knowing who's a safe person. These are skills that need to be broken down into parts to be taught to your child. For example, in teaching your child how to appropriately cross the street, start by holding hands and walking next to them, stopping at the sidewalk or crosswalk and prompting them to look to their left and then to their right to identify if there are incoming cars. This is a skill that should be practiced often since there are so many different streets, sidewalks, and situations with cars incoming and with no cars around. When you can see that your child has mastered the skill of identifying an incoming car by looking both ways to cross the street in multiple settings, it may be time to fade out the presence of an adult and make sure they're able to do this task alone. Contact your BCBA on more tips or programming on how to safely accomplish this task. Knowing who's a safe person and who's an unsafe person is another skill that many neurotypical children and adults are aware of, but many children with autism struggle with this differentiation. Role-playing different scenarios with your child may be helpful for teaching them how to differentiate between who is safe and who is unsafe. Teaching your child to be able to recite their personal identification information is another important safety skill. First, teach your child to identify "my name is" with their first and last name. Other important information can include how old they are, what their parents' names are, and what their home phone number is. Once these skills are mastered and generalized to different people and settings, we may also want to teach the child what to do if they are ever lost. This looks like talking to them about what getting lost looks like or what it feels like. For example, you may be scared if you can't find your mom, and what steps there are if this ever happens. Teach them to find a trusted adult, such as someone in a uniform, a police officer, or employee. Tell them that you are lost, and followed by your personal information. Elopement is a common behavior for children with autism. Elopement means the child is wandering away or running away from their caregivers or the specific environment. You may have experienced elopement with your child if they suddenly bolt away from a non-preferred activity or if they wander towards a preferred activity. One step in combating elopement in your child is understanding their goals or desires of where they want to go. Teaching them to stay close to their family or caregivers may be the first step in preventing elopement. This may come in the form of a social story about staying in a safe space or not wandering off alone. Teaching skills like stop or wait are especially important for children with autism to understand these cases. Using simple, one-word commands that they already understand or that we can teach is a way to ensure their safety. Waiting is an important skill in this context. If they want to leave an area or move to a different area, the parent can state "wait" for a specified time. Teaching the child communication skills in these situations are probably the most important aspect of preventing elopement. If the child knows to communicate their needs or desires to leave with their caregiver, it will give their caregiver a warning that the child is going to leave. Communication skills may be taught in different ways for children of differing developmental abilities. This may look like verbal communication, sign language, gestures, devices, or picture communication. Giving them the option to take a break if they're overwhelmed by the current situation, in addition to giving them a time when they can access their preferred location, will be helpful in combating elopement behaviors. In each of these skills discussed, it's important to teach them in the home and with the family, and then gradually generalize to other settings and other people. Our goal is to teach children to eventually become independent in displaying these skills, which is especially important when it comes to safety. Children with autism and neurotypical children alike need to know the steps in finding safety if they're ever lost. The first step is finding an adult to tell. Knowing how to recite personal information such as their name, last name, parents' names, and phone number are also important in finding safety. Whether the child is verbal or not, an identification bracelet or some other form of ID that they wear on them at all times can be helpful. If your child is nonverbal, it can be especially important to have them wearing this at all times and teach them to point or show it to an adult if they are lost. Developing a safety plan with all family members, neighbors, teachers, and community may be helpful for your child. Many children have specific needs or don't want to be touched in these situations. This is very helpful for community members to be aware of. Many children with autism may have a difficult time going out into the community because of varying sensory issues or difficulties adapting to schedule changes. Some examples of public places that may potentially bring out challenging behaviors include parks, stores, or restaurants. If you are aware that your child has a difficult time in a particular public setting or outing, the following will discuss some tips to combat maladaptive behaviors that occur. It's important to prepare yourself and your child for public outings, especially if you know that they may be aversive. Planning ahead is the key. This may look like verbally explaining to your child what the plans are for your outing, including a route you may take to get there, what the situation may look like, who will be there, and what time you will leave. Some children need a picture schedule to visually look at while you explain. Depending on the child and their needs, some may need more details included than others. Lay out your expectations of their behavior and the rules that need to be followed while in the community. Bring reinforcements with you to encourage your child to follow your expectations. This might be in the form of stickers, candies, high fives, or anything that your child will be motivated by. Make sure to disperse reinforcement on a dense schedule at first, or if you know that your child tends to display maladaptive behaviors in a certain setting. This means reinforce your child's positive behaviors very often. Last, talk to your BCBA about practicing public outings in your therapy session if you need extra assistance in this area. Thank you for tuning in to this section of ABA Basics for Parents on community outings and safety skills. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, email our team at ababasicsforparents@gmail.com.